There are 50 billion results for gut health online, most of them wrong. Today we're asking the best experts in the biz who actually know. This is The Gut Truth. Jordan, how are you?
I'm good, thanks.
So what started your relationship with gut health and how has that continued to shape your work?
Well, when I first started as a scientist, I didn't know gut health was a thing.
Okay.
And most people, I think, who get into gut health have their own journey. So someone who struggles with digestive issues is more likely to get into it. And when I was studying biomedical science at uni...
Very clever, Jordan, very clever.
I was struggling with an autoimmune skin condition. So I took an interest in immune health. And then in my final year, I did a project on something called CAR-T therapy, which is a type of immunotherapy used to treat cancer.
Okay.
So what they do is they basically take some of your immune system cells called T cells, they genetically engineer them and then give them you back to fight the cancer. Okay.
Good.
So I thought this is really exciting, good place, good area to work in. But it was really competitive to become a scientist in that field. Didn't get on. So I thought, I'll do a master's, apply again in 12 months' time. Yeah.
I'll just do a master's.
Yeah.
Just while I'm waiting.
Anyway, I saw a job advertised literally the day after I finished my final exam in gut health, in gastrointestinal physiology. So to become a scientist, looking at the gut. And I'm so glad I did that because the gut is literally linked to everything. And going back to that CAR-T immunotherapy example, what we know now is that some people don't respond well to that treatment. But if you take the gut microbiome from people who do and then give it to these people who didn't respond, their chances of the treatment working next time jump up massively. And it starts to make sense when 70 to 80% of the immune system reside in the gut. So I'm so glad that it worked out for me. Yeah.
Gut fate. And if you could change one thing about how society understands gut health, what would it be? Because obviously when you got into gut health, it wasn't mass market, not many people knew about it, but now it's very different. What would you change how people think about it now?
When it comes to gut health, the basics are, your gut thrives on diversity. So eating as many different plants and fibres as possible. Not a single superfood or supplement is going to, give you that. Yeah. And it's based on the data from the American Gut Project, where they found that I think people who ate 30 or more plants per week had better gut diversity. And having more diverse gut microbiome is linked to so many health benefits. So better immune health, better metabolic health, better heart health. So just focus on the basics, which is eating as many different plants as possible.
When it comes to immunity, I know that was obviously your speciality. I think for me, when I think of immunity, I think colds and echinacea. But your immune system is literally the key to all overall health, isn't it?
Yeah, and when we say 70 to 80% of the immune system resides in the gut, basically your gut is the biggest immune organ. You have this lymphoid tissue throughout the gut, so it's an immune hub, and this is where immune cells basically are trained. It's a bit like the police, so they're trained to fight danger, infections, cancers. So the thing that trains them the most is actually your gut microbiome. So what the immune system cells are doing are constantly sampling, and the more sort of good bacteria you have, the better the police immune system cells are trained to respond to danger. Whereas if you've got an imbalance in the gut microbiome from poor diet, antibiotics, stress, then that weakens the immune system response. So that's how it all sort of ties together.
I'm actually excited to know your answer to this. How do you think gut health will change the world?
Well, we've kind of touched on it already, that gut health is linked to almost every aspect of health. Your immune system, as we've touched on, most of your immune system resides in the gut. Mental health and mood, so you've got the gut-brain connection, how we think and feel affects our gut and vice versa. Metabolism, so what we know now is that when bacteria ferment fibres, they produce compounds called short-chain fatty acids, and these literally signal your body to produce hormones that regulate your metabolism, like GLP-1. So GLP-1 is the way that these weight loss medications like Ozempic work.
Is that people are injecting that hormone into them and it's acting, but our body naturally does that anyway?
Our body naturally releases it, and one way to release more of it is to eat more fibre, because as the bacteria feed on that, they produce these short-chain fatty acids, which signals your gut to release the GLP-1 molecule. That helps you to feel full, helps to balance your blood sugar. So yeah, you can literally improve your metabolism just by doing something like eating more fiber.
From what you've seen in your experience, like in your research, but also in clinic, and also writing your book, what's the most common root cause of gut issues that people have completely missed before they come to you?
So it probably is stress or a dysregulated nervous system. And the reason is, if you're struggling with digestive issues, you've got to go to your GP. They're going to do some initial tests. If a red flag is raised, like some inflammation in your stool or your blood, you then get sent to your gastroenterologist. He'll do some tests. And then if you've got something like inflammatory bowel disease or celiac disease, that's picked up pretty quickly. But that's only a small percentage of people. And then the rest of them typically come to see us. And it could be, a problem with the microbiome, could be food sensitivities. But in most cases, it's actually people struggling with their, to manage that stress response, because your gut is basically, the way it functions is dictated by which sort of nervous system you're in. So you could be in the sympathetic nervous system, which is fight or flight. So stress activates this. Whereas,
which we're constantly in this day and age, aren't we?
Exactly, yeah. And things like being on our phones all the time probably makes that worse.
Yeah.
But what the goal is to try and shift from that sympathetic to the parasympathetic state, which is rest and digest. And you can almost tell if this is you without actually doing any tests. So if you're someone who's tried like the dietary changes, you've tried things like probiotics and it's not really helping you, that's a bit of a sign to me that actually you're not addressing the nervous system. And this could be done simply through things like meditation, yoga, or just even breathing. So to activate the vagus nerve, which is this nerve that runs from the brain all the way down to the gut, basically controls digestion. A simple way to activate that and tip the balance into the parasympathetic state, rest and digest, is to do some slow breathing. So you're going to take a deep breath in for 4 seconds and then exhale for about 8.
Right, so you do double the exhale and then inhale.
Yeah, and that's been shown in studies to activate that vagus nerve and the parasympathetic nervous system.
And it's just like, it's free. Anyone could do it. You could do it anywhere.
Just do 10 of them. So like 2 minutes of that before your meal, and it switches your body into that rest and digest mode.
I think a lot of people sort of think if they've got poor gut health, oh, my mum's got bad gut health, or my dad, or it's when I went on holiday, and I got, so like from what you've seen, is it hereditary, or is it more like someone's got a parasite and brought it back, or is it lifestyle?
So there is a genetic influence to some gut issues, especially inflammatory bowel disease, but it's not a guaranteed. And epigeneticists who study how the environment affects genes will tell you that actually, diet is probably the biggest influence on this, and you can almost hack your genes, right? So the way that you eat can reduce your chance of developing these. So if we look at ulcerative colitis, for example, the studies that show in families who have a similar genetic risk, the people who ate more things like whole grains, so fiber, omega-3s from things like seafood, and carotenoids, which are found in like orange, red, yellow fruits and vegetables, peppers, oranges, etc., their chance of developing that was much less than family members who didn't eat as many of them. But in what I see in practice, the most common cause or trigger of gut issues is actually pretty surprising to most people, but it's food poisoning.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So basically, when you get a tummy bug, there's a chance of about 1 in 7 that 12 months later you'll still be struggling with your gut health. And it actually increases depending on the type of bacteria that you have. So Campylobacter, which is found in like undercooked poultry, chicken, that's a 1 in 5 risk. So there's a good chance that if you get this infection, you'll still be struggling with your gut health 12 months later. And it's just because it causes such a disruption to the gut in terms of the microbiome. The immune system, as we know, resides in the gut. It makes the nerves more sensitive. So yeah, my advice to people is, the number one thing is to protect your gut.
What frustrates you most about the wellness industry? Because I know gut health's obviously risen, more people have come into it. What's your biggest frustration now?
I mean, if we're being topical at the minute, it's parasite cleanses.
Is it? Oh my God, is that a thing?
I don't know, but I'm getting, my For You page is full of them.
Really?
I don't know if it's just because I've watched one video and they keep feeding it to
You're
me.
an algorithm.
Yeah, but So obviously, if you've got a parasite, it will cause gut issues. But as someone who's looked at hundreds, if not thousands of people's guts, I can count on like one hand how many times it was a parasite.
Really?
Right? So unless you're traveling to somewhere exotic or you're eating loads of raw food, you've probably not got that. And
by raw food, what do you mean? Just like uncooked fish and meat and that sort of thing?
Uncooked fish, meat, raw milk, which is another, wellness craze at the minute, which ties into this that I'm pretty sick of. You're 840 times more likely to get sick from...
840?
Times more likely to get sick from raw milk than pasteurised. And the argument is that people think because it's raw and unprocessed that it's better for you. But in terms of nutrients, raw is pretty much the same.
You're probably getting the same calcium and same, is it B12 that's in milk?
Yeah, B12. And another thing they say is that raw milk contains like natural bacteria, but it also contains bacteria that you don't want in your gut. Yeah. So I'm a huge advocate of kefir because, you take that milk, you pasteurize it, so you get rid of the good and the bad. You make it safe. Exactly. But then you selectively add the good guys back in, so you know what you're getting. But going back to the parasite cleanse, people are basically trying to sell you their parasite cleanse.
Is it a drink or
it's usually some sort of like some sort of herbal concoction. Oh. And this is what gets me, if you actually have a parasite, and the chances are pretty low, like I've said, if you actually have a parasite, the treatment is one medication, one tablet over the counter, done. That'll get rid of your worms.
And it's probably $6.99 and not...
Exactly. Not
$1 billion.
100 quid, 6 weeks, taking unregulated herbs.
Oh, nonsense.
So,
okay, that's the biggest frustration.
At the minute.
Right. If we can pick up your paddles, we have... I'm going to give you 10 wellness crazies just now. So you've got good and nonsense. All probiotics are the same. Okay.
So probiotics are like dogs. Okay? And you want to choose the right one for the right reason. And the analogy I always use is you wouldn't choose a French bulldog to herd sheep. It might work. I don't know. Yeah. But
We've seen Babe the Sheep Pig, but that's an anomaly.
I'd rather go with something like a border collie, which is going to help with
the job.
What you need. So that's what probiotics are like. If you want to improve a certain thing like bloating or constipation or mood, you have to choose the right strain that's been proven to help with that.
Okay. And how would you go about that?
Well, you could actually we've got a website.
You've got an amazing...
Yeah. So there's a
website. It's
Tummy
MOT, isn't it?
TummyMOT.com. We review probiotics and other gut health supplements. So you know what works. It's all based on science, totally unbiased. No one can pay to be on there.
Yeah, you've done the work for them. Yeah. Good. Eating fermented food every day transforms your gut. Yes.
Yes. There's a study where they basically gave people like 6 servings of fermented foods every day, and it dramatically increased gut diversity and reduced levels of inflammation. And we kind of replicated this on social media. Right. So we called it the Fermented 5. We did 5 different fermented foods every day, like a kombucha, a bit of kefir, kimchi, sauerkraut. And
kimchi. I love that in your accent. Kimchi.
And after 2 weeks, all of us saw an improvement. We had more lactic acid bacteria. These are the bacteria that feed on the fermented foods, and they're really good for immune and gut health. So.
Amazing. And they taste good.
And they taste good, yeah.
Win-win. Your gut resets overnight while you sleep.
Yeah. It does. It's actually good to...
it does.
It's actually good to take a break from digestion. I'm an advocate for intermittent fasting, but not overdoing it. So you only need to fast for about 12 to 14 hours to get a benefit.
While you sleep, basically.
And this is literally while you sleep, right? So you go to bed, you finish your last meal at like 7 p.m. and then you eat breakfast at 9 a.m., which I think probably aligns with what most of us do. That's 14 hours. That's plenty of time for your gut to reset, let your microbiome, have a bit of a rest and replenish the gut lining.
Right. Next one is snack, marry, avoid. So for each of these things, snack would be good occasionally. Marry would be your long-term staple, so something that you would do every day for a long period of time. And avoid would be not beneficial, or it depends. So first one is the diagnostic toolkit. A full gut microbiome test, a food and symptom diary for 30 days, and an elimination diet. Which one would you snack, marry, avoid?
So elimination diet, I would marry, but it's like the least sexy because an elimination diet, if we're going back to food intolerance test, this is the gold standard way to find out what you're intolerant to, but it's really laborious. You have to remove the potential intolerances and then you introduce them a little bit at a time. It takes weeks, sometimes months, but that is the best way to figure out what your intolerances are. Probably snack the food and symptom diary. This is another great way of finding out what could be your triggers. But because we eat so many different foods, unlike the elimination diet, which is a lot more, strict in finding them, you might get some discrepancies. And then with the gut microbiome test, I'm going to say avoid, although I think in very certain circumstances it could be useful. Although I compare them to like a designer handbag. It's cool to have.
Not necessary.
Not necessarily expensive, cool to have, but, not absolutely necessary.
Jordan, your analogies are the one. Right, the gut disruptors. I think this is one of your top topics to talk about. A course of antibiotics every time you feel ill. Ibuprofen is a daily painkiller. And antacids with every meal. I mean, we're going extreme here.
Yeah, this is extreme. Okay, so we'll marry the ibuprofen. Right? So the reason that ibuprofen is a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug, and these can mess up your gut lining, basically. They block an enzyme that produces the mucus, which protects your stomach. So if you take a lot of these, you can end up with things like stomach ulcers. But, it's natural anti-inflammatory. If you take it with foods, you might reduce the risk of this happening. I do use it for things like a hangover, headache. Oh, yeah. But just make sure you have it, not on an empty stomach, have some food with it. This is going to be controversial, but we'll get to that. I'm going to snack the antibiotics. Typically, people associate these with being the worst medications for gut health because they mess up the microbiome. But when you look at the research, the number one medication in terms of completely changing your microbiome is actually antacids. Things like omeprazole, lansoprazole, these PPIs.
And a lot of people are prescribed omeprazole for gut issues like heartburn and things like that.
Yeah, they're like the third most commonly prescribed medication in the UK. And people get left on them for years. You go to your GP.
Yeah, I used to be on it and then I took myself off them.
Yeah, you go to your GP with heartburn and they'll give them you, but they don't necessarily give you lifestyle advice, to change your diet. Maybe, you need to lose a bit of weight, etc. They'll just give you the medication because it works so well. We can now carry on drinking 10 pints and eating all these curries without getting the heartburn. So we stay on them for years. But there was a study published a few years ago in Gut, one of the leading journals, and it found that they basically gave them to healthy people, and the changes on the microbiome were more disruptive than if they would than antibiotics.
What does it do? Just like nuclear bomb on it?
If you imagine, you need your stomach acid. So these medications work by stopping stomach acid production, but you need it for two things. Firstly, to help you digest foods, and actually people who stay on these medications for a long time are more likely to have nutrient deficiencies like magnesium, calcium, which then in turn more risk of things like bone fractures. But secondly, you need stomach acid to kill bacteria that you ingest. And if you think that every time you swallow, you're swallowing millions of bacteria, this accumulates to billions and billions throughout the day. And you get a lot of oral bacteria in the gut on people on PPIs. And these bacteria shouldn't be there. Causes an inflammatory response. And there's now studies linking people who have more of these oral bacteria in their gut to things like heart disease. Based on the research, these are actually the biggest disruptors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I didn't know that. Yeah. Fascinating. Right. The gut health drinks. Bone broth with every meal, kefir daily for life, or a litre of coconut water every morning.
So we will marry kefir.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say that.
Yeah.
Your one true love.
My one true love. Love kefir. So many, proven benefits. Helps you to digest more lactose, so it can actually reverse your lactose intolerance. People are flabbergasted when I say that, but there's actually, that claim is supported by the European Food Safety Authority. So the more kefir you drink, the more bacteria you introduce into your gut that can break down lactose, and they help you out. And those bacteria increase diversity because there's lots of different strains in kefir. Should be bacteria and yeast. A lot of the commercial products just add bacteria, so look out for one that has yeast as well, because these are an important part of the microbiome, and that in turn is going to help things like your immunity, your metabolism. The next one's tricky, because a litre of coconut water a day makes more sense to snack, because it's going to hydrate you. So yeah, I'll go with that. Bone broth, avoid. I do think bone broth has potential benefits. It's got sort of the amino acids that you need to support the gut lining, but there's no research showing that bone broth does that yet.
Okay.
It just feels good when you drink it.
Yes, soothes the soul.
So, and it's expensive unless you're making your own.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. I am guilty of a litre of coconut water a day. That's me. Last section. If you had to build the ideal gut supporting day for the average person, what would it look like, and where do most people's day go wrong? So morning routine, as soon as someone wakes up, what would be the best for it to support their gut health?
So I'll give you my routine.
Yes, because you are a gut guru.
Yeah, and I work full time. I work for 40 hours a week. It's all right saying, get up, have a lie in, go for a walk, but none of us have time to do that. So wake up, hydrate. So pint of water, don't need celery juice, don't need...
Straight out of the tap.
Yeah.
Do you have tap water rather than...
I do,
yeah.
Although I'm not a fan of the Manchester tap water.
Cool.
So I have a water filter.
Cool.
But yeah, I drink tap water. So hydrate. Like I said, I break my fast after a couple of hours to continue that sort of 12, 14 hour period. I'm also not that hungry when I wake up.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. So the next thing is to make sure that your breakfast is, supporting gut health.
Yeah.
High in fibre, diversity of plants. My go-to is I'll have Greek yogurt with a bit of kefir mixed in there for microbe diversity. I'll try and use a couple of different seeds, chia seeds, which are high in fibre, maybe some pumpkin seeds, which are good for things like magnesium, bit of texture as well. And then I will add frozen mixed berries. So you can get these from like Aldi.
And they're so cheap.
So cheap. And it's that diversity of, you're getting 4 or 5 different berries in there. High in polyphenols, these compounds that support gut health and the gut microbiome. A little bit of raw honey.
Right.
Yeah. Raw honey has been shown in a study to actually increase the chances of the bacteria in the yogurt surviving through your gut.
All right, wow.
So naturally we think honey was like an antibiotic, but we call it a eubiotic, which means kills the bad guys, but supports the good guys. It was only with raw honey in that study. So if you can get your hands on some like local raw honey, go to your farmer's market, get some of that, put that in there. And that fibre and protein is going to keep you fueled till lunchtime.
And tasty.
Yeah, yeah. And I'll also do, so choose your, not poison, but coffee or green tea, matcha for me. So
why would you have matcha over coffee?
You wouldn't. I think it's your preference, right?
Cool.
Are you a coffee or a matcha girly like me?
Matcha girly.
So I just don't really like the taste of coffee, even though it's good for you. Yeah, I
guess matcha is a bit milder.
Yeah, I've always been a green tea drinker, and matcha is basically green tea. Yeah. But if you can have 3 cups of that throughout the day, there's so much research linking it to gut, metabolic, immune, longevity benefits.
Yes, as well, the matcha hype is real.
Yeah.
You can get it on any corner right now.
Yeah, so choose your poison, 3 cups of them a day if you can. Nice high fibre lunch at work. Go for a fart walk after.
Yes.
So
that be your movement then? Like obviously you're training for a marathon just now, so it's a bit of an anomaly. But movement-wise, what would that look like for you in a day?
So a fart walk is, non-negotiable.
Yeah.
And I'll do this.
Why?
So there's actually a study which showed that if you go for a walk, 10, 15-minute walk after a meal, you aid digestion. So what they did was they compared this. So one group of people went for a fart walk and another group of people got a prokinetic, which was a medication that speeds up digestion. So how quickly things empty from your stomach. And they actually found that in both groups, the ones who had the biggest improvement in symptoms like bloating was actually the fart walk group rather than the...
And it's free, you're outside in nature, get your microbes are out in nature.
Yeah.
The dream.
Yeah, so that is like a minimum movement. If you can get to the gym after work, great. I try to go 3-4 times a week, but we're all busy, sometimes we can't. And then in the evening, to finish my day, some more fibre meals with legumes, like beans there or some whole grains.
Your meals always look amazing.
Yeah, well, I follow the Mediterranean diet.
Yeah.
If people follow me, I'm a huge
Evo fan.
Evo. Yeah, so loads of that over the meal.
Yeah.
That's high in polyphenols. And then I finish my day with 2 kiwis because there's a ton of research
For sleep as well as helping you go, isn't there?
Yeah, yeah. So 2 kiwis a day is like goated for...
Should we do the skin on?
So I do. You don't have to eat the skin for the benefits though, because the studies are without the skin.
Oh, right.
Because obviously
Good
not
news.
a lot of people want to eat it, so they tell people, just scoop it out or peel it. But there's a dish.
You just go like an apple.
I prefer with there's gold kiwis.
Yeah, they are good.
The skin's nice and smooth. It's easier to do. But
I'd eat the skin of the golden kiwi.
Yeah, yeah. The green ones are furry, but if you slice them really thin, you can get around
Right,
that.
okay.
But yeah, proven benefits of constipation. Kiwis contain an enzyme that enhances motility, so how your gut squeezes things along. And secondly, sleep, right? So there's quite a few studies in athletes, students, older people, younger people, that having 2 kiwis in the evening can improve sleep quality. And we think there's a couple of reasons. Firstly, they contain a bit of melatonin, which is a sleep hormone.
Okay, yeah.
So not quite as much as a melatonin supplement, but a lot compared to other foods. And secondly, because they contain this unique mix of fiber and antioxidants, it helps to balance your blood sugar overnight. And a lot of us wake up around 3 a.m. And that's mostly because our blood sugar dips at that point. So you naturally
That's been happening to me like every night the past week.
Yeah, it's
like bang on.
It happens to most people. And yeah,
if you have a reason for it. So if I have kiwis, I'll be all right.
It might help you to get through that. And then the last thing is a study just came out that they improve skin health because they're so rich in vitamin C. They've got like 3 times more than an orange.
Oh, right. Give me 4.
Yeah. And vitamin C is more important for building collagen than actually taking a collagen supplement. So
kiwis
2 kiwis a day.
The one. Right. Stress management. Like you're writing a book, you're doing a PhD, you're in clinic, like you're a busy guy.
Yeah.
What is your sort of go-tos for stress management?
I'm pretty guilty of not managing
Yeah.
my stress very well. I've already given us a bit of a tip in terms of activating that vagus nerve with deep breathing. So in for 4, out for 8. Actually, humming as well activates the vagus nerve.
Right.
So on your exhale, if you hum a little bit like, that's been shown to
That's
potentially
what you
help
sort of
as
do in
well.
yoga.
Yeah, yeah.
My daughter used to do that when she was eating or concentrating.
Yeah.
Maybe that was just her instinct, the vagus nerve.
Yeah.
I mean, it's annoying, but interesting.
Yeah. I'm not, meditation, great. I just...
Same. I can't. I'm sorry. I'm just like checking my phone, my eye open. I just can't do it.
No, but if you can, then that is super helpful.
Yeah. And then one non-negotiable that you do daily for your gut health, apart from your kiwis.
Said the fart walk. A non-negotiable. Okay, this is an interesting one, and it's more of a tip. But you go to the toilet every day, right? That's how we detox our gut. And what you need to invest in is a toilet stool or something to have
your
knees above the hips. So, basically, where there's a sling of muscle around your rectum called the puborectalis. It's a bit like an elastic band. It's really tight when you're stood up or even at a 90-degree angle. So modern toilets are terribly designed. If you go...
I was in China and all the toilets are on the floor. And I was like, I'm too tall for this. How am I going to do it? Honestly, like we were at Disneyland and I was like, it was all squatting.
So yeah, if you go to China, Southeast Asia, even in rural France, I think have these like almost holes in the ground.
Yeah.
So when you squat, that is the way we need to go. So getting a toilet stool or just something else you can put your feet on.
Yellow pages,
shoebox, your mum's heels. So getting your knees up above the hips helps to open that puborectalis for a smoother sailing ship.
Yeah.
And that's also going to reduce the risk of things like bum grapes, hemorrhoids.
Oh.
You get less straining, less wiping.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's more of a tip than a
no, definitely.
I won't go to the toilet unless I can put my knees up.
Right. Okay. Fair. If someone's watching this and is feeling overwhelmed, which is the exact opposite of what we want them to do, what one thing would you say for them to take away? It could be something we've already mentioned or something new.
Probably go back to what we touched on at the start. Gut health really is about the basics and the fundamentals. So diversity of plants, eating as many different fruits, whole grains, veggies, nuts, seeds, spices as well. So
there's so much to choose from.
Yeah, seasoning your food, that counts towards gut health. And I always say focus on the 3 Fs. So 1 F is fibre. So making sure you get your 30 grams of fibre a day. And it's the 96% of the UK aren't getting that. I think most of us only get about half that amount. But again, going to the basics, an apple and an orange is nearly 10 grams, right? So you don't need to overcomplicate it. The second F is like phenols or flavonoids. These are the things that are found in green tea, in coffee, in Evo.
Berries.
Berries, yes. So getting them, they're going to feed your gut microbiome. And then the third F is the ferments. Cool. Kefir, kimchi, sauerkraut. So focus on these Fs, these fundamental.
And saying F you to the nonsense on the internet.
Yeah.
That's the fourth F.
That's the fourth.
Yeah.
I'm going to steal that.
Amazing. Jordan, you're a legend. Thank you so much.
Nice one.